Hokies!
I don't know how many teams across the country have their entire coaching staff back, but I know we're one of them. Really been pleased with the fact that they're all here, and that won't happen every year. That won't just the facts of how this thing works, but speaks volumes to them and our administration. And obviously we're led by some really good coordinators, and Bud, who's been here for some time, just melded in with everybody else really well. Really enjoyed that. And Brad Cornelson, who I've mentioned before, I think did a fantastic job, or has done a fantastic job the last couple of years with our offense. And James Shebest running the special teams. Obviously we all have big shoes to fill when we come into here, but we know where special teams ranks kind of in Virginia Tech lore, and James has done a great job with that. And kind of lastly, Ben Hilgard, our strength and conditioning coach. I've mentioned to you all many times that, as a head coach, when you finish that spring game, kids go through finals, they get a little time off, and then when they come back, you essentially turn your entire team over to your strength and conditioning staff. And I just think Ben and his staff have done a fantastic job, not just with the gains we've made from a physical standpoint, but from just continuing to preach and teach our culture and our mindset on a daily basis. I know some of you all have probably seen some of the changes our guys have gone through. Some are fairly dramatic and impressive. Our kids have worked hard. We've had another productive summer. The other part of that equation are our players and putting the work in. So we're all anxious to see them back there on the field. You think about the spring and all that we went through in the spring in terms of guys being out and all that sort of stuff. It's really exciting to see us get back out there with everybody and really start to push forward towards this season. We had a brief meeting earlier, kind of dotting I's and crossing T's and making sure we got everything ready to go for tomorrow. I think everybody's excited. One of the neat things about coaching is about the time you get tired of one thing, you get to move on to something else, and I think our kids are anxious and ready to practice. So I'll be happy to take questions.
Raise your hands. We'll get you a mic. Norm.
Just since you're talking about coaches and all, I figured since he's local for us, I think it's official now, Tommy Riemann on staff. What does he kind of do for you? It sounds like he's going to be a quality control guy. Right?
Yeah, we're excited to have Tom. This is something Tommy wanted to be a part of. Obviously, his father's a legendary coach in the 757, and Tommy's worked hard himself to earn everything his own way, and I think he's going to be a valuable asset to what we've got moving forward.
Andy.
I know the experience level of your quarterbacks this year is probably a little bit less than last year, even though last year those guys didn't have a ton of game experience. Do you have to structure the quarterback competition any differently this August because of that, or do you sort of take a similar approach?
I think it'll be pretty similar. You're right. There's not much more we can do from what we did last year, and having been through several of these just in our career, you try to put them in as many situations as possible, test their retention and their ability to operate under pressure the best you can. There's still no substitute for experience, but we've got a good plan to get them out there and get them reps and get them evaluated and try our best to make a good decision.
Ricky.
You kind of touched on it a little bit there at the beginning, but what are some of your impressions physically of your guys from that summer, and how just dramatic were those changes, at least to you?
Well, I think just in general terms, when I think about our team right now, I think we're probably farther along from an athletic standpoint, from a physical standpoint, conditioning and strength level. We're probably not as far along as we were a year ago from just a maturity standpoint. That doesn't mean we don't have some mature guys. We've got plenty of guys that have played a lot. I just think overall we're just not quite as far along as we were. And that'll be one of our challenges in camp in terms of improving our discipline level. But you're right. I mean, you watch those guys. It's really fun to see those guys work hard and see the gains and hopefully reap some of the benefits of all that hard work and believe in what we're doing, and then get a little carrot at the end.
Raise your hand, we'll get you a mic. Ricky?
What are some of the adjustments you've had to make to your normal camp schedule to kind of make up for these rule changes you're having to face this year?
Yeah, you're right. It's a little bit different in terms of it's just longer, you know. So we have a couple of breaks built in. It's kind of a weird rule in the fact that it's really made camp a longer experience, and I think we've got to be cognizant of our guys throughout camp. So we've changed some things, not a lot. And when you go back and I always use previous years as kind of the template, and I take notes on it as a template for moving forward. And this was a little bit of a different deal. I've never had one just like this. Now, usually every year they're a little bit different. So I don't know. We're going to try and be cognizant of our guys and making sure we're ready to play in the first game. But I don't think there's huge sweeping changes in terms of our general plan. It's not like during two-a-days when we did have two practices, which was very few times, that we were just out there grinding it up for both practices. I mean, the days of that have been long gone for some time. So I don't think it's huge changes, but small tweaks, and something that we've got to do a good job documenting as we move forward to try and judge where we're at.
Aaron?
Have you ever had a player show up in the fall and just completely change your plans for him by how much he developed physically or in any fashion? I mean, I'm wondering if anybody could jump into the mix that maybe you weren't even thinking about so much in the spring, if that's possible. If you've seen it.
I mean, I'm sure that's happened. I can't recall specifically guys that have just come out of nowhere. It's always fun for us to see the development of the young guys. You know, obviously when you get to be a junior or a redshirt junior, you know, you've reached physically, particularly, you're pretty close to your max usually. There's still some mental growth that's got to go on there, but for us to get the freshmen and see them, particularly the ones that came in at semester, see them out there at practice, and then it's been my small experience that those guys make large gains or have potential to make large gains in fall and two-a-days. Because first of all, they just know what's going on. They have an idea of where to go and what to be doing, and then they've made some large gains, you know, in the weight room.
Coach, Trayvon McMillan struggled some last season, or at least had a down year compared to the previous year. His job to lose that running back, or is it an open competition this fall?
No, it's open. It's absolutely open. We'll see of all those guys who's the best and who gives us the best chance, who's the most consistent, who can play without the ball in their hands, who can play with the ball in their hands. So, like many of our spots, it's open.
Anybody else for Coach? Ricky?
Kind of going back to Ben, what about him specifically really sets him apart from other strength and conditioning programs or coaches that you've seen in your career?
Well, for me, it's the extension of what we're teaching. You know, I mean, I'm not a strength coach, and I don't pretend to be one. And I'm sure there's people across the country that know more or less about bench pressing or hang cleaning. But to me, it's about continuing to get the kid's ear and continuing to command respect for them, but also performance, and to see the guys believe in whether it's you know what we're trying to build, whether it's hard, smart, and tough, or the culture that we want on a daily basis, the discipline level that it's going to take to give ourselves a chance. To me, disseminating that information and that culture is as important as the gains you make numerically, either your weight or how much you lift. And to me, he is as good or better than anybody I've ever seen at continuing in his own way to further that cause.
you talked a lot about the kind of veteran team that you inherited last year and this year. You've talked a lot about how many young guys are going to have to play. Is it a greater challenge to get older guys that have had a previous system to buy into a new system, or is it a greater challenge to get young guys to understand what college football is all about in your system?
Well, I don't know. Like last year, it didn't seem to be that difficult, and I don't know exactly why. But the older players, probably because of their character and their upbringing, were all in to try and to make this thing work for one last year. It's just younger guys inherently are figuring out the toll and the workload that it takes, and the consistency to do it on a daily basis is just a little bit easier on more mature people. So I'd say in all, it's a little bit harder with the younger crew to get them ready to play at that same level as maybe a few guys that have been around the block a time or two.
Coach, you made the decision to move Caleb Farley from cornerback to wide receiver. Can you explain some of the reasoning behind that and what type of role you expect to see him have this year?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know in terms of what his role is going to be. I mean, we'll put him out there and see what he remembers and what he's picked up and all that sort of stuff. But what was the first question? Why did I switch him?
Yeah, what was the reason?
Well, I think first of all, if you look at just kind of where we're at, where we need help at immediately, where's a chance to get a guy like that on the field the quickest, it was on the offensive side of the ball. I think it was the biggest thing.
All right. Thank you. We'll have Coach Foster up next.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
And ladies, I'm good. Y'all doing all right?
Yeah. Wasn't it also your birthday recently?
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, Friday. 29 twice. Sounds a lot better than the other. So.
That's 2 parties, right?
Huh? Well, we did it Friday and Saturday. It was we did it up. We did it up last weekend. With that being said, beginning year 31. It's pretty exciting though. So. It's kind of ironic we're starting year 31 on July 31. It's I don't know if we've ever started a camp this early, but I'm excited. I'm as excited as I've ever been, and looking forward to getting started here tomorrow. Obviously, we're meeting a little bit tonight, but looking forward to getting started. Our kids have worked extremely hard. And now it's time, though, to transfer that hard work onto the field. I'm looking forward to seeing our kids, see how much they've improved. That's where I've really challenged our guys from at the end of spring practice and the spring game to where I thought we made our biggest strides were through the summer that prepared us for last season. And I'm hoping we're going to see the same results this year. I'm excited about the kids we have coming back defensively. We've got a good mix of some returning starters, along with guys that played significant roles that stepped up and played really well, but then there's also going to be some first-timers. So, and that's what makes college football exciting. But I know this, our kids have worked really hard, and we're excited to get started. So with that being said, I'll open it up.
Mike?
You got 3 very experienced players. Did it last week? Do you like that rotation, or is it hard to have one guy who's kind of the odd man out, even though he maybe is good enough to start?
Yeah, it gets into last year we had some guys get nicked up a little bit, and you roll that through. That's a nice luxury to have 3 quality players like we have at just 2 positions. I know at times we went at a time when a guy was hot. It's almost kind of like a dynamic tailback. You get a guy that maybe they're trying to pick on or doing some things and attacking him a certain way, and he's playing really well. But I will say this, those 3 guys, because if we can get into teams into third down, I think we've been really good over the last several years in that down and distance. That allows us maybe to get more defensive backs onto the field, which it's a matchup game as we're more and more as we're moving forward. But I like those matchups when we can get those guys on the field. But that's a good situation to have and a good problem to have as far as having three really quality players, at one spot.
Staying at cornerback, it sounds like a few weeks ago, Brandon was about to get a cast off on his right wrist, and it didn't sound like a major deal at the time. But what happened and how?
Well, you'd have to talk to the docs about exactly what's going on. He did have an issue, had some surgery, and that's probably going to push him back a little farther back in camp than we wanted to. That's just part of it right now, and that's having three guys, quality guys. But we're going to have some other guys that need to step up, as well. I mean, Tyree Rogers, Bryce Watts is a kid that I've really been impressed with early. But we still need to develop some depth at that spot because there's still a play away from somebody being the guy. But Brandon will work extremely hard to get back and be full speed and be ready to roll.
Is he a little ways off from practicing with you guys?
You'd have to talk to Mike. I don't know the exact details of all that, but he should be able to do some things. I'm sure there's probably going to be some limits that he can do, maybe as far as contact and whatnot. But I'm not for sure all the details on that as of yet.
Over here, Coach.
So, Rover, is that an open battle for you guys right now at Rover? We got Devin Hunter coming in. Is that open for you?
Well, yeah, there's going to be competition across the board, and having quality depth and quality competition is healthy for your program, and Devin, we'll see. He's been here for a little over maybe about a month right now. I think he was coming in. He shows a lot of abilities. But still very raw, but extremely talented. And I do like where Reggie Floyd ended up spring practice. I liked where Khalil Ladler, thought that move for him was good for him and good for us. And then obviously everybody knows the potential that Devin has, and I'm excited to really see it firsthand. I've seen him in some drill work and things of that nature. I think the more he becomes comfortable, the better he's going to perform and be. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him grow and develop, and he's going to get a great look because he's a guy that I think can help our football team.
You guys have 4 true freshman linebackers that seem a little bit bigger from a weight standpoint than we've seen in the past as far as some of the linebackers you've recruited. Was that a concerted effort to maybe get bigger at linebacker, or is it just how things worked out?
I think it's just more how things worked out. We needed to create a little bit of depth. We've lost some guys there over the last couple of years for various reasons. And that was a priority in our recruiting. I think I really am excited about those kids. Rico Kearney, unfortunately, really couldn't go through spring practice, but he was able to sit through meetings, rehab his shoulder. And I like where he is right now. I really like the football IQ of these young guys. Now, the more we've been very basic with them here early in their initial enrollment here with some base things, and tried to throw some things at them. But the bullets will be flying, so to speak, for real on tomorrow. But I've met with some of those guys individually, guys that were a little bit closer in proximity to us during spring practice and the winter and things of that nature. But I do like the IQ, and there may be a guy or two that will have to step up and play for us this year, or more. So we'll see, particularly with special teams and that type of thing. But I like the way they run. I like their size. I like their strength, and I like their intelligence right now.
Seems like the last couple of years you've had a solid first team that you really like on defense. Then you say the second team has a lot of work to catch up to them. This year seems like it might be similar in that scenario. Is that one of the biggest things you want to do, is create depth there?
Yeah, without a doubt. And as I said earlier, we have a good experienced group, I think, coming back. and guys stepping in. Tim Settle now is going to be a full-time role, factor player. Instead of just being a role player last year playing 20, 25 plays a game, now he's going to be asked to play 45, 50, 55 plays a game. And Tim's worked extremely hard. But that's kind of where we need, my biggest concern is defensive tackle. Having the quality depth, and that's a position that guys can get dinged up quickly. Again, finding a fourth corner, fifth corner. I think finding that fourth or fifth safety. Right now, those are our perimeter positions. Our linebacker, we have a little bit of depth. I like Beckett. We moved Anthony Shagog, and we're going to keep him there as of right now at our backer spot. But he can also play our whip if they get into a heavy personnel type offense. So we've created a little bit of depth through some moves in the spring. My biggest concern is just our front depth, particularly defensive tackle. We have no experience at tackle. And there's some concerns at defensive end. I do like Vinny Mahoden where he's worked to get back. I like Trayvon Hill, and even though those two kids missed spring practice, they look good physically and they know what the expectations are. But that allowed us to rep some other guys that at least gave us some answers. Can some guys help us? And I do think some guys can help us. And like I said, what they've done from then to now, and when we transfer it back on the field, I'm anxious to see that if they've made those improvements that we need for them and for us to be successful.
Ray Miners, his whole situation, leaving, coming back, walking on. Is he on scholarship now? And what have you seen from?
You'd have to ask Coach Fu. We've been working the numbers. He's a guy that if we have one, we'll make it available for him right now because he's worked hard. But that's kind of up to Coach Fuente and his numbers and what they have right there. He's put himself in a position though to help us at that position, and he's been like several other players that have come through this program over the years that we have moved around to try to fit what best fits their strengths and limits their liabilities. And we've kind of, he's worked around a couple different spots, and I think we found that spot that now he can, excel and then help our football team. And I think he's got a new energy, a new lease on life, so to speak, and I'm sure he's excited about getting started here tomorrow. But he's worked extremely hard, and I'm excited for him because he can run and do some things, and I thought he had a really good spring.
What are the physical tools that make him a fit at that?
Well, he's got explosiveness as far as getting off on the ball to rush the passer. He did a nice job at the point of attack. That was my biggest concern, to be honest with you. Was he going to be able to handle it at the point of attack? I still think that's an area that he can continue to improve. But that was probably the biggest, if I had a pleasant surprise with him, it was probably taking on blockers at the point of attack, and that position for us it can be a little challenging with different schemes and whatnot, how people will try to manipulate that end position, because that's the one they're trying to negate and slow down because that's been the playmakers at most defenses across the country, and Ray possesses some of those things with his athletic abilities, so, and he's up to about 250 pounds right now, and he looks good, and I think he posted something on Twitter, so he's proud of the way he looks too right now. So,
In the same vein, you mentioned earlier that you're very happy with the way people came back last summer. You had a lot of continuity with Mike Gentry for years and years. What does Ben bring to the table? Is he different in any way, or what do you like about the way he goes about his business?
Yeah, I think. My take on all of this is, there's a next generation of coaches coming through right now. Coach Beamer was in his generation, his era, was an iconic guy with what he did with special teams and those type of things. Coach Gentry was on the forefront of the strength and conditioning development of your players, and now you're seeing the same kind of people, but it's a different era, and it's you've got a younger, dynamic offensive coach who's been known for developing offensive schemes and doing those type of things. It's kind of made his niche a little bit, and you see Ben in that same regard in my eyes. You see a guy that's the next generation. It's just not about getting bigger, faster, stronger, which he's big on that, but doing assistant lifts and doing things that are injury preventative, and those are type of things that I see that was a little bit different than what maybe Mike did before. But still, just the conditioning and all those, you're splitting hairs. You know, Mike Gentry is obviously an iconic guy in the business, and I do think we've got an iconic guy in the way he does things and how our kids have bought in and how he's transformed them physically and mentally, and that's a big part of the strength and development. It's just not that part of it as far as the physical part. It's also that mental development. When kids start having self-confidence and feeling good about themselves and competing and working hard, you know, and you see him getting those same results, and that's exciting.
So were you a little curious what you were going to get?
Yeah, I mean, you know, after being with the same guy for 29 years, same thing like with what was I going to get with Coach Fuente, you know what I mean? But I know this, I stick my head in there quite a bit, and I like our approach. I like our energy. I like just the way he goes about business and how our kids have bought in, and it's showing with their results.
Do you see Robert Porcher playing on the inside or outside? And also, what do you think about Zion DeBose and his chances to play this year?
Yeah, I mean, Robert's an intriguing guy. We're going to just see where he goes. We may look at him at both spots and find out where it best fits his skill set. I mean, is he going to be a guy from a speed standpoint that needs to move down a few feet into, you know, to his left or right and get closer to the ball? Then all of a sudden, if he is that guy, then all of a sudden he's twitchy. I mean, we're going to evaluate that. To be honest with you, this summer we probably didn't spend as much time. It was just kind of we kind of let our kids run things in our skills and drills. So I'm anxious to see him move, and is he a end at this level, or does he need to move down inside at this level? So you know, we'll find out here in the next few days. Zion DeBose, I'm really excited about him. I'm excited about those young ends too. I mean, Robert's kind of in that mix, could be an end, could be a tackle, but you know, Nate Proctor, you got Taiwan Garbett, you've got Zion, and those are three guys that we're really excited about it, and have some twitch and some get off and some athletic ability to bend their body and redirect and do some of the things that you know, you want that position to do, particularly with the athletic quarterbacks and people trying to you know, stress the edges a little bit and challenge them. We've got to figure out ways how we can turn our ends loose a little bit, and that's really kind of what we worked hard on this spring, mixing things up and trying to turn our ends loose to the dive or to the mesh point, and allowing them to play a little bit faster and not let offenses slow them down a little bit. But you know, but I'm excited about that whole group, and we need to have somebody, whether it's Zion, who might be farther along more physically than some of these other guys, and from just a strength standpoint and his size standpoint, it might be a little farther along. But I'm anxious to see where these guys, you know, where they are and where they'll fit in right now.
Last one, Ricky.
Kind of going back to defensive tackle, I know Vinny's kind of played there before early on in his career. Do you see a situation where maybe he could slide in certain packages and personnel to kind of spell those guys at tackle because you're a little familiar?
Yeah, we've talked about that, and Vinny's played in there some, and he could go do that. And if it does, if we can create a little bit of depth with guys that we feel that we can trust and know can win for us at end, and we have some concerns with our depth at tackle, then that could be a possibility right there, because he is a kid that is big enough and physical enough and has enough experience to go in and playing a 7 technique and a 2 technique or a 5 technique and a 3 technique. There's a lot of carryover. So, you know, with a guy for a young guy, that might be a little bit too much, but for an older guy, he would get those concepts and understand, you know, those, you know, how to key read and fit and all those kind of things. So, but that would be a possibility, yes.
All right. Thank you, bud.
All right, thank you all. Good seeing y'all. Good. How you
Coach
You
Cornelson,
ready?
I'll let you
All right, good to see everybody.
open it up.
Excited to get going year 2. Guys put in a lot of hard work this summer. We got some big holes to fill. We got some older guys that got to step up as leaders. We got young guys that have got to get ready to play. Got a big challenge in front of us. I know the guys are excited. We're excited to get going. I already know what the first question is going to be, so I'll just start right there. You know, we'll have the 3 guys rolling through evenly like we did in the spring, getting reps. You know, it's going to be similar to last year. We'll evaluate it day to day. We got no timetable on naming a starter, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's things that can be evaluated and charted, and there's things that can't be, and those are the conversations that the head coach and the offensive staff have every day. And you know, when we're comfortable making that decision, we'll announce it and go with it. And it's a good room. All of those guys are team first guys. We expect them to compete and handle themselves that way. So.
I'm going to ask you about quarterbacks anyway. Because last year you had a 5th-year senior as one of your options, did it seem a little safer maybe last year? Is this year a little more of a mystery because none of them played a Division I?
Oh, I think absolutely. You know, Motley having experience and a lot of playing time certainly made you feel like you had a guy that had been through the fire a little bit. So I think that's probably a fair statement.
Does it scare you a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of piggybacking off that, in what ways schematically can you really tailor the offense to kind of prepare to have a quarterback who, like Mike mentioned, has not played a collegiate game so far?
Well, I think it goes back to our philosophy any year with any starter is how do we get him playing well, you know, and that means taking care of the football and being efficient, completing passes, whether they're deep post routes or throws into the flat. I mean, that guy's got to play well. He's got to be efficient and take care of the ball, keep the chains moving. And so whether he's a guy that's already played for you or he hasn't, that's what you're trying to figure out in fall camp going into the first game is what can he do, what can we do offensively to be efficient.
We've heard Coach Fuente say a couple times the quarterback isn't his biggest concern. It's having guys around him that are capable of playing. Are you of that same mindset? Is something like receiver a bigger concern for you coming into this?
Well, as many guys around that position that can make plays takes all the pressure off the quarterback. You know, when you can hand the ball off to your tailback in the run game and get 4 yards on first down, makes third downs easier, more manageable for the quarterbacks. You're going to get more tight man coverage, which lets you get the ball out of your hands a little bit quicker when you see blitz situations. So absolutely, it's no secret that we lost a lot of production at the receiver position, and we're going to have new guys and young guys that have to step up. And it was something in the spring we knew, and all summer, and that'll continue to be a point of emphasis is finding those guys we can trust and that can make plays around the quarterback.
With Josh Jackson growing up in the household of a major college coach and being around so many good coaching minds throughout his whole life, basically, how have you seen that translate to him on the field so far? How has that helped his progression?
Well, his demeanor, first of all, he understands what's going on. He understands the leadership and what that position's about. That's the first thing that you notice when you're around the kid. But it's just his football IQ, and you can talk concepts and coverages, and he understands it easily the first time, and he gets it, and those are the little things that at that position really carry over and make a big difference.
What can you say about Deshaun McClease, who redshirted his first year, was out last year with an injury? What can you say about him, and is he actively in the battle for the starting quarterback position?
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job. He's been a good leader for us. He's the kind of kid that when he shows up for practice or weights or meetings, he's got kind of a look in his eye, an intense, serious, focused look in his eye. It's important to him. I think he was devastated he got hurt so early and didn't get to play much last year. So I know he's been hungry, and it shows with him every day. And I mean, he's a guy that's got a lot of skill and talent that can really help us, and we're hoping that will come true.
I know you've been a play caller for more than just last season. Was there anything you learned about yourself last year as a play caller, doing it in a new place, new school, new personnel?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I learn something every game. You know, you get put in a different situation, it seems like, every game, and sometimes it's the first time, you know. So I don't know if one or two things stand out. It's just it's the feeling you get going into the games versus certain defenses, and when you are put in those situations during a game, those are things you remember, you kind of log away for the next time it happens.
What has Coach Fuentes' input been with you as a play caller? I mean, it was his job previously. Is it difficult for him not to look over his shoulder at you, or do you ever worry about that at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I want his input on game day, you know, on midweek, after games. You know, it's a pretty open relationship from a communication standpoint, that he knows any point in the game or during a drive, if he's got a suggestion, I want to hear it. If he wants to take a shot or be conservative, he knows I want to hear that, and that I'm not going to feel like he's stepping on my toes to say those things. So, you know, it's a good relationship, and ultimately he's the one that's controlling the game from a team standpoint. As a coordinator and a position guy on one side of the ball, you get locked in to that, and so it's important that the head coach sees things from a different standpoint and can have that input when he wants it.
Yeah, just one more. You relayed a story to us about your first year as a play caller. I think it was against Kansas, and the headsets went out. And he said he had nothing to do with that.
Mysteriously, headsets went out. I don't believe him for a second. Yeah.
Staying on that topic, what do you remember about when he first gave you that responsibility? What was that discussion like? And did you sense, not apprehension about you, but apprehension on his part to give it up?
Yeah, I mean, I knew he didn't want to give it up. We had built something at Memphis from scratch, and we were going into a year that we had almost all those guys coming back, and knew we had a chance to be really good on offense, and that's hard to give up. But you know, I was ready for it, for him to do it whenever he wanted to do it, if he wanted to do it. It wasn't a huge conversation. I know it was hard for him. I know he wasn't going to do it unless he felt like I was ready, and that was what was best for the team.
How about the right side of that offensive line? You went through with certain guys in the spring, but obviously you were missing a couple people. What's your outlook there, and are you at least confident that you have two guys who can do it? Maybe you just don't know who they are? Or?
I think we've got some bodies there that are going to step in. You know, Terrell Smith has done a pretty good job of establishing himself at the tackle spot. You know, he's still got a ways to go, and there's guys pushing him, but I think I like what we saw from him in the spring. I think he's ready to kind of take that next step and jump in there. I think the right guard spot is completely wide open, and yeah, I do think we have a few guys that can step in there and do a great job for us. So it's going to be a challenging, competitive spring or fall camp for that right guard position.
Coach, you know, at wide receiver, obviously you lost a lot. What names jump out to you so far this offseason as guys that could potentially step in that you might not have thought of earlier this year?
Oh, you know, Henry Murphy's a guy that got some playing time late in the year and kept coming on. I think he's a guy that can really help us. You know, he's got some tools that you want with speed, and you know, has carried the ball in the return game, and I think he can step up and help. The two guys that were here last year, Kuma and Patterson, you know, those guys are still young, but we don't have the luxury of letting them wait another year. They're gonna have to be ready to step in there. You know, James Clark, the transfer from Ohio State, has done a good job this summer. Would love to see him. Again, he's the kind of guy that's got the tools to get in there and help us out, and he's an older guy. So, you know, those are some of the guys. Of course, Caleb Farley, being here, early grad this spring, you know, he's a guy that can make plays. That we're going to have to find a way to use him. You know, those are the guys that come to mind. Khalil Pimpleton's another early grad kid that was here that's done a good job, is going to be in there playing for us.
Following up on that, does that make it a little bit harder, the quarterback situation, that you don't have forward and how to have that really veteran group to kind of help those guys through?
Yeah, it is. It's challenging. You know, it's another couple guys that you're trying to get used to the timing. So, you know, just like trying to establish a starting quarterback as quickly as you can so those guys get comfortable in the first huddle, you're trying to do the same thing at the skilled positions. You're always going to play more guys than just a starting lineup, but if you're repping 6 guys with the first huddle instead of 8 or 10 guys with the first huddle, it makes it a better transition, easier to get on the same page with those guys timing-wise.
And I forgot to ask, when you took over the play calling, did you get the nickname The Kid, or does he keep that nickname?
No, he keeps that for, yeah.
On that note.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Questions about the right side of the offensive line, since the left is pretty set. It sounds like Coach is pretty confident with Tyrell and what he can do at right tackle. When you think about that right guard spot, some of the guys you've lined up, what do you see there, and how confident are you that you guys have an answer at that position?
Well, going back to what you said first off, I don't see the left side is set right now. I don't see really any spot anywhere set right now on our football team. That's the mentality we have going into it, and that's my mentality for this camp. Everyone's here to earn a spot. As far as the right side goes, whoever plays best is going to be put in there. Whoever Coach Weiss thinks gives us the best chance to win is going to play there. So, you know, really all 5 spots are open right now, and that's our mentality.
Are you confident that there's somebody on that roster who's going to be a good player at that right guard spot?
Yes. Yeah.
Eric, what kind of strength gains did you make over the summer, and what are your impressions of the strength coach you guys have now, Ben? Or what's he? You know, obviously, Mike Gentry had been here forever and had his own style, and I guess you were part of that transition. Curious what your thoughts are.
I thought we had a great summer. I thought the offensive line worked extremely hard this summer, not only in the weight room, but conditioning-wise. You know, optional practicing wise, all that stuff. I thought we had a great summer. Personally, I really like Coach Hilgard's program. I think it fits. I think his program really fits our type of football team and how we want to play the game very well, as far as a no-huddle, up-tempo offense and a defense that's going to see a lot of the same types of offenses that we have. So I think it fits really well. I think by the end of summer we're working above 100% of our max reps, so that's a great gain. And then our conditioning from the day we walked in the first day of summer till the last day was night and day. It was completely different. We're in much better shape, and we're ready to go. We're ready to get started.
Anybody else for Eric?
Can you explain what over 100% of your max reps means? Like,
so in the spring we would max out and do 1 rep as much weight as we can. From there, the sets and reps we do are based off of that percentage. So towards the end of the summer, if the weights are, if you're able to do them with relative ease, they would increase your max number. So, you know, perhaps if you did 100 pounds, we're working off of a 120 pound. So 90% of 120 versus 100.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Mr. Greg Stroman in the house.
Greg, you guys had that three-man rotation at corner a year ago, and it worked pretty well. As a player, what's it like to be in that and to, you know that they kind of ride the hot hand almost at corner because you have some depth there?
I think it kind of gives you an edge. I mean, we all push each other. Me, Brandon, and Adonis, we push each other just to do well and do what we're supposed to do, know what we're supposed to do, and just prepare. And I think it helps us prepare very well, having three guys that know what to do, and having somebody come to the sideline and see what they see, like the one man that's not in and things like that. So I think it's a good thing.
Are you guys? I mean, I think people sometimes think corners are just corners. Are you guys all different skill sets? Do you do different things well at that position?
I think we all do different things well. Everybody's just. I mean, we all try to get better at things also. I think that's one thing we take from each other. We all find something that each other are good at and help each other with those things.
I know after the Duke game you had that injury and then you were trying to fight back through the rest of the season. Was there a point either during the season or after the year where you finally felt like you were back to 100%?
Yes. I mean, I feel like I'm there now, and I feel like during the season I was kind of fighting. I wasn't really 100% for the rest of the season, but definitely after the season I had surgery and now I feel great.
Is it a little different in practice now when you didn't have Isaiah Ford and Bucky Hodges? Is there a different? Do you have to push yourself maybe a little more because you don't have some of those matchups?
Oh no, definitely the guys still here. I mean, they're competitive guys and they wanna win the rep just as bad as those guys did. And I feel like we got some good guys that want to compete and want to make plays for this team. So that's always going to help us on the defensive side and allow us to get better.
Anybody you particularly had a rivalry with in the spring, or anybody you're looking forward to?
I didn't compete in the spring, but
matching up with?
I always Cam. Me and Cam. Yeah.
The coaches always tell us about how Coach Hilgard really tries to get the coach's kind of vision to the players in the summer. But what is he like really just as a person? What is his personality like? What is his demeanor like in the weight room and with you guys? And how does he kind of really maybe differ from what you had in the past?
Coach Hilgard, yeah, I mean, he has juice. That's what we call it. He just has juice every day. I mean, the guy doesn't wear long sleeves during the cold games. I mean, it's just great to have. And I just feel like you want to run through a brick wall for him. I mean, I would. And I just feel like, I mean, he definitely with my injury, he's been in my ear. He's been just great guidance and just helping me fight through that. So, Coach Hilgard, I think he's great.
In that same vein there, Greg, is there anybody that you look at the end of summer and say, man, he looks like a totally different guy than the spring? Maybe a younger guy, I don't know.
I say Javon Quinlan. I seen his before and after pictures and they're crazy. Terrell Edmonds, I can definitely see a difference from when we came in as freshmen. I could see a huge difference in him, and everybody went hard, and I think everybody obviously can see a difference. I mean, people were going crazy over there before and after pictures, and I think a lot of hard work is going to pay off.
How about your own before and after pictures? What did you see in those?
I see a lot of games. I mean, I just feel like Coach Hilgard just pushed us real hard and pushed me hard on staying on me eating and just doing the things I need to do just to make sure my body's healthy and ready to go. So I think we're all pretty proud of the work we put in.
Is that before and after picture thing a new thing, or is it just you guys decide to share them more often?
Well, Coach Hilgard, we took them 18 months ago, and then we just took our new ones. So I guess he wanted to get a full year in before we took our new ones and put them out there. So.
I know some of this comes from just being older and getting playing time with that, but you seem like a much more confident dude than you were, say, this time last year. Is that all it is? Is it just playing more, knowing what you're doing a little bit more, or has somebody talked with you about that, sort of stepping up and speaking up? And do you feel like there was maybe a moment that you felt like you kind of turned a corner as far as just becoming a more confident dude?
I mean, I just feel like just playing on the team like I'm on right now just helps you have confidence. Having the guys around you just to bring you up and just to always be there with you. I mean, there's going to be ups and downs at corner spot all the time, and I feel like, and that's almost at any position, and I feel like the defense is one. I mean, we all together, and we all just holding each other up, and I mean, you just get confidence from playing off your teammates, just making plays.